Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and this is my channel where we talk about all the houseplant things. Today we're going to be discussing what to do when you fall out of love with your plants. And I thought this was a really important discussion to have because sometimes we start a hobby or a new journey in our lives and it is something that we do forever and ever. Or it's something that was a phase and our moms were right. It was a phase, mom. But I just want to talk about some exit strategies to leave the houseplant collecting community in a graceful way, in a way that will be helpful for you, hopefully financially, that will be responsible, and a way that will just make you not feel like you have failed at something, because I want to make it so clear that just because you fell out of love with houseplants does not mean that you're a bad person, that you're a failure, that you didn't know how to do it right, or that you did it wrong. Sometimes things just don't stick. And there's literally nothing wrong with that. I've picked up so many hobbies that I just did for a couple months or a couple years and then I never touched again. Or maybe I was really obsessed with it and then it sort of fizzled out as I found other things, and I still like these hobbies, but it's not like the center of my world. So the first thing I want you to think about with your houseplant collection, when you've decided like you're sick of it, you're done, I want you to think to yourself if there's any love left. Is there any part of you that still likes plants, but maybe you just have too many, or maybe the types of plants that you own are not the right ones. So maybe it's not necessarily that you don't like plants, but you just don't like the life that you created with your plants. So there's lots of different maintenance level for plants. Maybe you really like just having green spaces in your home, but you don't like having to refill a humidifier and watering every couple of days and spilling water everywhere and buying all the supplies. There's just parts of it that you don't like. So think to yourself, is there any part of this that you do still like? I would suggest paring down your collection significantly to only the plants that are the lowest maintenance possible. So keeping whatever low maintenance is to you, whatever that means. I was gonna suggest some possible low maintenance plants, which I can still do, but I just wanna make it clear that low maintenance plants to me are probably going to be different to low maintenance plants for you, because we live in different environments, we live in different head spaces. So I want to be clear that just gauge this off of what you think is low maintenance. And so for me, that's things like pothos, aglaonema, trailing philodendron, like the heartleaf philodendron or the philodendron Brazil, like this one behind me right here. Those types of vining plants are very easy for me to take care of, and I really don't think about them very often. They take up very little brain space for me, whereas things like anthurium or ficus do take up a little bit more of my brain energy because I'm a little bit more stressed out about them. And I would say limit the amount of plants you keep anywhere from 1 to 5, maybe 10. But I feel 1 to 5 is a really good range, because when you only have a couple of plants, literally a handful of plants, you can really cultivate them to be very large. And then maybe eventually you will want to propagate and make more of those. But you can, vine them up around your walls and to make it seem like you have more plants than you do. But all in all, having 1 to 5 plants will make your mental load of owning houseplants significantly less, and hopefully not completely deter you from having them, but just remind you that it is nice to have them, but it doesn't need to be an entire thing, repotting and watering and everything else. Next up, I'm going to suggest when you're paring down your collection, or if you decided you just don't want any of them at all, I'm gonna suggest having a closeout sale on your local Facebook groups, or even just in marketplace or just online selling situations. I would suggest making this in person only, because I think that the mental load of fulfilling shipping orders is very high. It's definitely the least of my favorite ways to sell plants or to give plants to people, because I'm stressed about the plant arriving, I'm stressed about, the money exchange, the packing materials, and then the drive to the UPS store or the USPS office, or whatever it is. I just want you to exit as gracefully as possible without having a ton of, disdain for the plants. So I would say post a closeout sale on your local Facebook groups, wherever, it doesn't have to be Facebook, but wherever you post online. And if you're not comfortable with sharing your address, I would suggest maybe posting up at a grocery store in the parking lot and just say, hey, I'm gonna be at Hy-Vee on Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock. Come by and buy some plants. I'm getting rid of my entire collection. Price things like you want to sell them. Definitely don't sell yourself completely short, because I'm sure that, your houseplant collection was a pretty significant financial investment. And I do believe in making sure that we are keeping our finances in a healthy place. But I think that getting that money back is a really great way to, help yourself feel a little better about leaving, because then you can apply that money to other parts of your life. So a closeout sale, you bring all of your plants, or as many as you can fit, and maybe have a little table or something like that. Maybe make it kind of fun for yourself. Or if there's a local plant swap, bring everything you can and just plan on not coming home with anything. Because usually if you stick around to the end of a plant swap, people are like, just take it. I don't want to go home with it. So it's a score for people who do, still want to do plants. They can get a pretty good price for things, or for free, really. You could frame this in any way, like buy one, get one free, like whatever you want to do, but have a closeout sale where you can make a little bit of that money back, and then just make sure that the plants are going to people who want them rather than going into the trash or whatever. But honestly, if you have some plants that you can't sell, you can compost them. That is possible. And then, there is, of course, the trash. I'm gonna say this also applies to all of your supplies. I feel like if somebody was giving away plant supplies, I'm almost more inclined to be interested in that, because, plants come and go. Like, I can go to the nursery whenever I want, and the price is always gonna be fluctuating and whatever else. But when someone is like selling pots, they're selling soil, they're selling tools and things like that, I'm really interested in that kind of stuff, because I like finding bargains for that, especially pottery. So do all of your stuff, sell all of your plants in the pot. If you have extra supplies, bring that too. I'm sure that people will be interested. You could throw things in with the plants, but just have a way to make some of your money back, and maybe make some friends, connect with the local community, or not. You don't have to make new friends if you don't want, because these are plant people, and if you're leaving, that might feel weird now that I think about it. But either way, you might already have local plant friends, and you might be able to offload a big portion of your stuff to them. Next up, and I probably should have said this first, but somebody suggested a while ago that if you have plants that you don't want anymore, to contact a local school and see if they want the plants, maybe for public spaces in the school, like the office or the teacher's lounge, or if there's any teachers at the school who want plants in their classroom. But obviously I was a teacher, if you guys didn't know this. I had plants in my classroom, and it was so much fun. I taught 6th grade social studies and language arts, and the kids loved it. So I definitely taught a subject where things were a little bit more academically lax, let's say. Like, we could talk about things. It wasn't like we had to get down to the equations. So we got to chat, and I would have the students write stories from the plants' perspectives, like what are the plants seeing throughout the day, just things like that, like fun exercises. That was at least in the language arts part of it. Plants are a really, really great thing to add to classrooms, because even if the students don't notice that they're there, they can just feel the overall difference that plants bring to a space. I feel like whether you're a plant person or not, you're gonna notice that a room feels different. A room feels better when there's plants. It doesn't feel so sterile. It just feels very full. So I feel like a classroom is a really great place to have plants, and teachers obviously most of the time, if not all of the time, fund their entire classroom decor, supplies, and all of that stuff. And plants, as we know, are not exactly super cheap. The pots, the soil, the plant, it can really add up, especially when you're on a teacher budget and you have so many other things to worry about. So I think that would be a really great way to, bless the local community and get some goodness into schools. So definitely contact maybe a local, I would say contact the school directly, email or call the front office and see if they would if they would accept something like that. I honestly don't see a world where they wouldn't, unless they already had a ton of plants or something, unless they also didn't want to take care of them, but who knows? So somebody in the school is a plant person and would probably pick that up. Okay, so when you own houseplants, we get pests, and we've sometimes collected a collection of chemicals and things like that, where we're getting rid of the pests or we're just maintaining the plants or whatever. So if you didn't sell these or give these away, with the plants themselves before in your closeout sale or when you donated them to the school, I think it'd be really nice to include those types of things with the donated plants, just so they have like some supplies and don't have to do like additional labor to find the right products and go buy them and all of that, because it's just a lot. So if you already have those things, I would suggest donating them with the plants or selling them with the plants. But if you still have any left over, I would definitely do some research on the proper ways to dispose of it. This is just something like I personally haven't looked into like what you need to do. Maybe you can contact like a local garden society or a local community garden or something like that and ask if they would like these supplies. And if nobody wants them, then just find a way to properly dispose of them, because again, they are usually chemicals and that could be harmful if not disposed of properly. So just looking into ways to discard them responsibly is really important. So next up, after all of the plants are gone and you can breathe a breath of fresh air from the relief of being rid of this hobby, I would suggest giving yourself an exit survey. So usually, when you leave a job or you leave a position, whatever, there's an exit survey because hopefully the workplace wants to improve. So we can give ourselves an exit survey to think about how our lives can improve or will continue to improve through the things that we've learned from plants. So I have 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself when all is said and done. The first question is, how did plants serve you? If plants were a comfort for you through the pandemic and they gave you something to do, they gave you a reason to wake up, they gave you something to take care of, I want you to acknowledge that, because that's really, really important and really amazing that you found something that got you through the day-to-day life. I mean, I don't want you to think about you quitting houseplants as this huge fail. I want you to think about it as you are gracefully moving on from something that really, really did help you at one point in your life. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, what initially drew you to plants? Because I think that this is a really helpful tool in just learning about ourselves in general. What drew you to plants? What made you want to take care of plants? What interested you in the first place? I mean, it could be something as simple as you saw someone's Instagram post and it looked really dreamy and you wanted to recreate that. That's fine, but it also might be something like you are feeling a lack of nature in your life. You're feeling like neglected in the nature department. So maybe that means that instead of having houseplants, you just take more hikes, you go on walks more often, you visit places that have lots of trees and greenery and lushness, or whatever that may be for where you live. So I think it's really important to think about what drew you to plants. Was it just taking care of something? Was it the nature aspect of it? Just figure out what that was and sort of dig deep into how you can continue to nurture that in your life outside of owning houseplants. And number 3, which sort of ties in all of this, what lessons can you take into your future? What did you learn from plants? What did you learn from taking care of plants? And how can you apply those lessons in your future endeavors? And how is this portion of your life going to inform the rest of your life? Because I mean, even though it was a phase, I think that phases are really important for us and it reveals a lot about who we are as people. So I want you to think about like what this says about you as a person. Just the fact that you took a season of your life to love and enjoy plants. What does that say about you? And well, I think it says something really good, by the way, just to say that. But and how can you apply, the lessons that you learned in the last couple months or years into your future life? And the last tip that I have for you as you exit the houseplant collection hobby is to just thank your plants for what they've done for you and what they carried you through, whatever season in your life they were in. I think that it's really important that as phases of our lives end, we acknowledge just how grateful we are for that phase, or maybe how ungrateful we are for that phase. Maybe you need to do that too, whatever it is for you. But I think it's really important to thank our plants for what they carried us through and what they taught us, because there are so many lessons outside of, how to water a plant and how to check the soil if it needs water. I don't know. There's so many lessons that plants can provide us outside of all of those basic ergonomic things. They can teach us how to care for something and how to listen to cues that aren't necessarily verbal. Just how to be in tune with nature. There's just so many ways that plants help us, and I just want to, if you're leaving, I want you to just take a moment to acknowledge that and thank the plants for what they've done, and to also thank yourself for finding a way to cope and carry you through whatever it was that plants were for you, I think that it's important to acknowledge that too. So if you are exiting the houseplant journey, I really wish you all of the best, and whatever you do in the future, you're gonna be amazing. Even if you pick up another phase, that's fine. If you do pick up a sewing phase or a crafting phase, I have a crafts channel, like a vlog channel where I share a lot of crafting stuff. And you know, if you're interested in anything like that, you can go check out that channel. But if not, it was really great being your friend, and I hope that in the future, if you ever do come back to plants, we will meet again. I feel like we're like breaking up right now. I'm a little emotional, and that's totally fine. But I just want you to be happy. I want you to do things that make you feel fulfilled. And if plants just aren't it anymore, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be this forever thing. I don't want you to feel like you have to be, you know, the plant person for the rest of your life if you really don't like it. That's not fun for anybody. So take your leave whenever you feel is appropriate, and definitely maybe make that decision before you end up hating your plants and just want to throw them all away, because you know, we want to nurture them all the way to the end until they reach their next home. But you know, if you have reached that point and you just don't have the energy, compost or the trash. That's fine. I'm giving you permission to do whatever you need to do for your mental health, for the sake of moving on, whatever it may be. So anyway, I'm talking a lot because that's what I do, especially in a breakup. But I just want you to know that I'm so thankful for you for acknowledging that, you know, you got to move on. And I hope that you will have a wonderful life in whatever you do next. So anybody who is not leaving plants, you know, maybe there was something helpful for you here too, just to learn to maybe pare back your collection or just manage things a little bit better so that you don't get overwhelmed as often. I hope this is helpful for you as well. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one if you're staying, and I will see you on my vlog channel if you're not. Okay, bye.